Kilcommon Peninsula. The French came around here 3 ships in 1798. The sand hills of Parish and Lacken sand. Many tourists come here. They can swim when it's tidal, and they can do sand yachting when the tide's out. Light aircraft landed here in the 1940s and gave the locals trips and short flights. Lacken Bay was a disaster here in 1927. Castle Lacken, townland. And in the distance, Bohol Marsh and the Lacken River. St. Patrick was supposed to have started his first mission here in the 5th century. And there is a legend about the fisherman he met crook on glass on the banks of the Lacken River. The salmon legend. Now this area here is tidal. In the foreground is the castle of Castle Lacken. It belonged to William Burke in 1585, to Egan's in the 17th century, Roger Palmer later on in the 17th century, and also James Cuff, and in the 18th century Sir Charles Knox in the 1820s. It's in ruins today. It was in operation in the 1920s. Ernest McCormick lived here, Thomas Garvin lived here, Thomas Loughney eventually owned it, and now it is in the hands of the Rooney family. It was rifled and pillaged in the 1920s. In the background, the sand hills of Parish. Kilogary village. This road was here before 10 years at least before the famine. The weather was hazy, so the photography was great on this particular day. Charlie Franco was down in that area. And Little Church was here from 1411 until 1843. This is Rowan townland, right in the 1930s. Paramore House in the distance. This is Little Rowan West. Many artifacts and relics were found here in the last century and even the early part of this century. On the top of that distant hill in the fog there is a bronze age grave, 4,000 years old. The gazebo. We think it was built in 1794. It was used as a landmark. It was on the estate of Sir Charles Knox and the domain. It was hit by lightning and repaired by Thomas Hines. It is 382 feet over sea level. built from local stone, 4 archeries. There's an inscription here, C-Bar, S, which means Staunton, and C-Bar, which means Castle Bar, and 1794. Castle Town and Belfry villages. Up here are megalithic tombs, 5,000 to 6,000 years old. So there was a civilization here a couple of thousand years ago. In the background, Northboher Hill, planted with pines in the 1970s. We're back at the gazebo again. And right inside here, a bronze axe was found. It's called a socketed bronze axe head in 1934 by Jimmy Lynott. It's now in the museum. They dated it around 700 BC. And there was a sharpening stone. The sharpening stone, they don't think it would be as old. They had no date for it. It was found along with the socketed bronze axe head. Now there was another one found here by John James McLaughlin in 1929 in the Castletown bog. A flat bronze axe head. This is Caboha, a megalithic tomb, 5,000 to 6,000 years old, in a collapsed state. A burial. It was excavated last year by a team from University College Dublin, headed by Margaret Byrne. Down here are some foundations of pre-bog houses. There are about 3 or 4 in this area. One there, another one down there. This is in the village or the townland of Lacken. Now there's a Bronze Age burial on the summit of this hill here, much like those found in Carrickeel down in County Sligo. They're dated, I think, about 4,000 years old. Now in here are the sites of two free-bog houses near the village of Knockbottom. That's one. And that's the other one there, the raised mound. Bronze Age burial on the summit of the hill, and close by are two Shions, two other Bronze Age burials. Now that was the old village of Knockbaha. It had 5 or 6 houses in the 1930s called the Pucheen village. Most of them emigrated. The Knockbaha Road, and this was the flat bronze axe head found in the Castletown bogs by John James McLaughlin in 1929. Now these are the red doors, Castle Lacken, main entrance to the castle. Not the main entrance, but the servants' entrance. The bridge and Gary Franca. First casualty of Humbert's army lost his life around here, or died. There were French ambassadors here, one in 87, Guiton, 88, Boucher, and Comban, 90 I think. Gary Franca, Frenchman's Garden. An old road here long before the famine. This is the Protestant Church of Ireland, dated from 1411 to 1843. It was Little's church. Parson Little officiated here. Catholics are buried in this graveyard, and this enclosure here are the tombs of 2 generations of Matt Flynn's and Pugh, and Little's wife and Little's son. Now, up here, Parson Little lived, and this mansion about 2 years ago, and this is a picture of it while the ruins were still standing. He wrote an account of the French landing, 1798. It was called Little's Diary. He lived here, and that was his church. This is a drawn house, the ruins of it. It was there before 1837. The Pews lived here. Well, the last that was in it was Matt Flynn, then his father Matt Flynn, then the Pews, and before that Richard Knox. Richard Knox would be here in the 17th century. Kilugary Church of Ireland, 1843. This is a distant view of Lacken Parish, Strand. And Lacken comes from the Irish word Lecken. Lecken Creek on the cheek or face of a hillside, so it's not on the level. That's how the name came about. Farming district, Telagary, in the wooded area. Caramore, two houses, the new and the old and the trees. Caramore townland, Ballinelec, Ballinhill. This is the Killigary Church, Church of Ireland. The date on it is 1843. The roof was there until the 1940s, I'm told. Martin's Public House. Celebrations were held here for commemorating 1798 French ambassadors Guiton, Boucher and Cumbel were here. The Lacken Catholic Church, built in 1969. Cardinal Thomas Sophia was here on 3 or 4 occasions. The entrance to the old parochial house, built in 1927. The previous school, which is now in Castle Lacken, built on the site of the old church which was built before the famine, the old Catholic church in the sandy garden. Lacken Strand. The parochial house, built in 1927. Castle Lacken, the main wall going away down there. New school. Marine erosion has taken away here and the sandy banks are wearing away. Now these are the sand hills of Caristila townland. In the 1940s, Robert McGregor had many rabbits here and he exported them, dead ones, to England at the time of the war when meat was scarce. And for a time, cattle grazed it, now rabbits are coming back again to it. Some holiday homes built here by Pappy Linus. Townland of Castletown and Beltra. Moving into Castle Lacken. Most of it built on the hillside. Main entrance to Castle Lacken Castle. the ruins of it. This may have been the first part of it here, this box-like structure, up until the 1820s maybe. Hilligeria, Lissadrone, Carramore, Townland. Fohol Townland. Coming from the ancient Irish word underwood, probably was an oak wood here. Now there's a standing stone here, we'll be looking at it later, and a holy well called St. Patrick's Well. Cardinal O'Fee was down at it in 1987. Some new houses have gone up here. And this was also the village where McCrory was born, Mihal McCrory. Served as a gardener for Paul Pierce and wrote some Irish books. The entrance to Carramore House, well, there are two of them in it now, the new and the old. The new one houses the McCormick family. And the old one houses the Buck family. Before that, two generations of McCormicks, and before that, Palmers. They were there in 1798, so John Palmer was here. Another view of Carramore House, Georgian architecture. The main wall and that little hole in it, the wicket where workmen entered to do their day's work, many of them from Fohol. Cornfields in the Carramore estate. Clonalahan River runs down here, and the village of Clonalahan. Allahan is an old name for a burial. Fohol village on the hillside in Townlands. Marsh down there, which is tidal. Post office. It is now Boyd's. Before that it was McGurn's for a few generations, and the post office was here since the 1890s. Before that it was down at Lacken Strand, a new house going up on the site of where the old post office once was. Roads to Kilcommon and Killala. The road to Schoolhouse. Carramore National School, built in 1933 on the McCormick estate. wall of the McCormick estate. The Macrory Monument in Fohan, built in 1986, 50 years after he had died. He was born here. A gardener for Pierce, involved in the 1916 rebellion, and a great Gael Gore, an Irish speaker. He wrote a few Irish books. Michael Rogers would be his name. A village well, now obsolete. Pipe water is used instead. The Fohil standing stone, called Lack Dalbini, going back to the Druids' times, I'd say. Used to divide two territories in the 5th century, maybe before that. St. Patrick's Well, a holy well. This was the main road. Most of the people from Lacken came up the strand and up this road to Killala. Lacken Strand. We've seen these villages before, Lacken, Beltra. Down here at the strand, the post office was until the 1890s. Tayman. Public house. Before that it was Robinson's, before that Jack Mahon's, and before that a business family called Neelan's had it. Improvements have been made on this down through the years, and close by are guest houses. The John Hines guest house is there, called the Humbert Lodge. Humbert Stone is here. It was brought up here in the 1920s by Peter Neelan, the man that owned the public house here at the time. It was the first stone that Humbert is supposed to have stepped on when he landed at Kilcommon. A tourist attraction. Killala Bay. Ox Mountains in a scroll in the background. The football pitch, newly opened this year, called the Joseph Loughney pitch. Townland of Castlemagee. And Cashel. Community centre, the local community centre. It was a school built in 1892. Charlotte O'Fee opened this community centre some years ago. But before that it was called St. Cummins Hall, a dance hall. The Kilcommon Beacon is on these rocks here, called the Bone Rock, and it was erected in 1985. It has a solar cell to provide the blink at night time. Bessie's Bar. Bessie Munley. She died This pub was supposed to be here in 1798, a pub like it, attached to fair. Coast Guard Station. Built from after 1798 until about 1837-38, until the 1890s they were building pieces onto it. Kilcommon Coast Guard Station. They are gone since the 1920s. Now the slipway was built 1898, the old pier there 1929, and the new one 1981. The year of the French film was made down here in 1981. Monument to the Humbert Landing. Maud Van McBride was here in the 1890s, trying to stop some evictions. The plaque there commemorates a visit to the area. Shoreline along Kilcommon, St. Cummin's Church. It's not the original one. The original one would have been made of timber. It is supposed to date sometime around the 8th century, maybe the 9th, 10th, they're not too sure. St. Cummin's buried between these two standing stones. There's an inscription on the stone in the centre. The Burke Tombs. And a wall there along the shore to keep the tide out. Some stone tables built of crevice stone here on the right to facilitate tourists. The shrine built in 1982. Mass is usually celebrated here on the last day, Sunday in July. The wall and little house where the stations are done in mounds was built here around 1932. Kilcommon village. Now this is a camp, they call it the Coast Guards Camp. It was here from 1939 to 1945. Members of the army were here keeping watch. Now down there the first detachment of Humbert's force landed and camped down there for the night in 1798. Kilcommon Head in the distance. The giant slip off Cleaver Head there on the corner. There is a legend attached to that. And we're at Lacken coastline. Lacken Bay. Boileau Compa or Carntrasna. In 1798 the French had a recruiting camp here, and the year of the French took some scenes here of their rhythm. They found some suitable old thatched houses here. The Brescia Homestone, situated in the townland of Brescia, going back to about maybe the 5th century. It would be dividing two territories, and the son of Owley, or grandson of Owley, called Carabra, supposed to be buried here. There were druids around here too at the time. And at the crossroads up here is a druid's judgment seat, which we can see now. Druid's judgment seat. Rathfran Abbey. Dominicans were here, built by the Exeters of Strade 1274, or Jordan, lasted until about 1600. Scenes from the year of the French were made here in 1981. Summerhill House. It was here in 1798. Burke was the owner. Later it belonged to Thomas Palmer, and before the 1920s it belonged to the McCormicks. Ernest McCormick lived here for a time. Summerhill House, the roof was taken off it 5 or 6 years ago. Scenes taken from the year of the French, 1981, showing the landing and some of the extras that took part in it. Now here is Carbonmore Court Tomb. It's a megalithic tomb, about 5,000 to 6,000 years old. And it has two courts, one here and one at the back. So there would be a civilization here about 5,000 to 6,000 years old. 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. Palmerstown Bridge. It was here in 1798. Palmerstown River. It was here in 1798. General Humbert crossed here. Now it has 11 eyes, built by the Palmers, probably Thomas Palmer. Now we can see a fishery here at Palmerstown Bridge. It was established by Doherty's of Newport in 1988. Salmon fry are hatched out here and put into nets later in the sea out around Westport and Newport, and they are raised into salmon. Then they are killed and exported. Here we see some of the tanks here. Now this is the old mill. Here in 1856, maybe before that, Ernest Marx had it. It was working here up until the 1940s, corn mill, for grinding corn. I saw it in action myself. Morris Knox, I think, was the last owner of this mill. Palmerstown River. Creamery. Palmerstown Creamery, established in 1957 by the local farmers. Joe O'Neill was the chairman. One of the gates from the Castlereagh house. This is the house of Dominic Maguire, Palmerstown. This is the fort where the first castle was at Castlereagh, belonged to the Burkes. It was here in 1485, destroyed in 1670 by the Cromwellian forces. Home of the Knox's Box first. And this was the second castle. Castlereagh House it was called, built after 1670 and lasted until the 1930s. Palmestown House. Now, this wasn't the real Palmestown House. The real house was burned down in 1798 by the rebels, and these were the sheds or barns that were done up. This is the driveway, the avenue, to today's Palmestown House. The bridge, the river, the mill. Road to Ballincastle into Rathfran. Picture of Castlereagh House around 1928, before 1930. The gatehouse to Castlereagh House. Another picture of what Castlereagh House looked like. Main gateway coming in.